Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Being unbothered doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care differently. It means you value your peace enough not to hand it over to every little moment that doesn't deserve it. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to prove your point. You need to pause. That pause, that's power. That's training. When someone throws you shade, don't plant it, don't water it, don't grow it. Walk past it. You've got better things to do. And I get it. We've all got triggers. But here's the truth. Your triggers are your responsibility. They're your emotional gym. So hit those reps. Strengthen that muscle. Because when you get stronger, you stop reacting and you start responding. Stop letting every text, every look, every opinion become a fire alarm in your head. Not everything is urgent. Not everything deserves a seat in your peace. When you walk into a room, don't ask, do they like me? Ask, do I like my energy right now? That shift. That's when you know you're training. You can scroll without comparing. You can disagree without arguing. You can hear criticism without crumbling. That's the work. That's the skill. Being unbothered is not about pretending. It's about preparing. So show up calm, not because life is easy, but because you've practiced peace like it's your job. Train for it daily. That's how you win. Emotional discipline is louder than emotional reaction. We live in a world that rewards the loudest voice in the room, the quickest clapback, the sharpest response, but that noise fades. What doesn't fade is the person who stayed composed when chaos walked in. Emotional discipline is about knowing what to feel and when to show it. It's not denial, it's control. When you walk into a situation that's messy, charged, and heavy, the person who keeps their cool isn't weak. They're practiced. They've trained themselves to feel deeply without bleeding on everyone around them. That's power. That's a voice that doesn't need to shout to be heard. When you react, you give the other person the remote control to your emotions. They push a button and you jump. That's not strength. That's programming. Emotional discipline is learning how to hold the remote yourself. You still feel the emotion, anger, sadness, frustration, but you pause before you move. You pause before you speak. You don't let the heat of the moment turn into words you can't take back. And that pause isn't weakness. That pause is wisdom. It's awareness. It's you understanding that emotional maturity is not about suppressing the fire. It's about learning how to hold it without burning everything down. We've all been in situations where someone says something out of line, they go too far, they hit a nerve, they try to provoke, and the old you might have exploded, might have yelled, might have matched their energy just to protect your own pride. But what if I told you that silence sometimes is the loudest flex, that holding your composure while someone else unravels is not only strength, it's growth. That's emotional discipline. You see it, you feel it, but you choose to respond with thought, not impulse. And when you do that, you become unshakable in rooms that used to rattle you. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is instant. It's triggered. It's raw. Responding takes breath. It takes pause. It takes restraint, not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. Think about how many conflicts have escalated simply because one person couldn't take a breath. Now think about how many moments you can own when you do take that breath. That's the space where emotional discipline lives, in the space between the trigger and your action. That's where your peace is protected. That's where your energy is filtered. That's where your growth is visible. Not to prove anything to others, but to prove everything to yourself. People will test you. That's a guarantee. Life will test you. That's a promise. And the goal isn't to avoid the test. The goal is to stop failing it. When you start practicing emotional discipline, you start seeing these tests as opportunities, not to perform, not to impress, but to stay grounded. It's in the middle of a heated conversation that you learn the value of a deep breath. It's when someone disrespects you that you understand the power of self-control. Because at the end of the day, your reaction is your responsibility. And that's what separates someone who's easily bothered from someone who's deeply rooted. Your emotions are valid, every single one of them, but not every one of them needs a stage. Emotional discipline is choosing which emotions get a mic and which ones get processed in private. That doesn't mean you don't express yourself. That means you express yourself with intention, with timing, with impact. Think about how strong you are when you can feel something deeply and still not let it control your next move. That's emotional strength. That's character. That's the result of discipline that didn't come overnight, but through trial, failure, reflection, and consistency. Training emotional discipline is like building muscle. You don't get it from one moment of calm. You get it from choosing calm over and over again, even when you have every reason to react, especially then the moments when you're shaking, when your pride is loud, when your instinct wants to snap. That's when you're building it. Not with a loud voice, but with a steady presence. You're learning to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature. You hold it even when everything around you wants to spike. That's how you become emotionally disciplined. And that's how you stay unbothered. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. The difference matters more than people realize. A wall shuts everything out, even the good. A locked door lets in what aligns and keeps out what doesn't. It's intentional. It's controlled. Boundaries are not about being mean, cold, or distant. They are about being clear. They're about saying, this is how I want to be treated, and meaning it with your actions, not just your words. You can love people deeply and still say, this is not okay with me. That's not harsh. That's healthy. Too often we wait for people to cross a line before we admit the line even exists. And by the time they've crossed it, resentment's already built. Boundaries don't need to be built out of anger. They should be built from awareness. Knowing what drains you, what confuses you, what triggers you, and having the courage to design your life around protection instead of apology. A boundary is not a punishment to others. It's a form of self-respect. It's you recognizing that you don't owe your time, energy, or space to people just because they want it. You owe those things to yourself first. There's a fear that comes with setting boundaries, especially when you've been a people pleaser. You start to wonder, what if they leave? What if they get upset? But here's what matters more. What if you stay and keep getting hurt? What if you keep stretching past your limits just to make someone else comfortable? That's not kindness. That's self-abandonment. Boundaries protect you from abandoning yourself. And yes, some people will get uncomfortable when you start enforcing them, especially if they benefited from you having none. That's not your problem to fix. That's their mirror to face. You're not here to be accessible 24/7. You're not here to be agreeable at your own expense. You're not here to be everything to everyone. And when you realize that, something shifts. You stop explaining yourself so much. You stop over-apologizing. You stop negotiating with your own peace just to keep others from feeling uncomfortable. Boundaries bring freedom. They make your yes means something because your no has weight. They bring clarity to your relationships, to your habits, to your mind. They're not rigid rules. They're flexible filters. They're how you stay aligned with who you're becoming. It's not always about cutting people off. Sometimes it's about changing how close they get. You can still love someone and not answer every call. You can still care and not engage every time they try to pull you into chaos. Boundaries allow you to stay connected without being consumed. They teach others how to treat you, but more importantly, they remind you of how you deserve to be treated. That's where real self-worth shows up. Not in what you allow once, but in what you consistently protect. You don't have to shout your worth. Just show it by how you move. The hardest boundaries to keep are the ones with people you're close to. Family, friends, partners, because those ties feel deeper, the pressure feels heavier. But that's where boundaries matter the most. The closer someone is to your heart, the more access they have to it, and the more responsibility you have to guard it. It's not about shutting down. It's about showing up with clarity, about saying, I love you and I also love me. When both of those can be true at the same time, that's growth. That's balance. That's where your peace gets space to breathe. There's a version of you that's more calm, more focused, more grounded. And that version has strong boundaries. That version doesn't respond out of guilt. That version doesn't live in burnout. That version doesn't over-explain every decision. You don't become that version by accident. You build it one boundary at a time. You build it by understanding that not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. Not every invitation deserves a yes. Not every opinion deserves a reaction. Boundaries give you room to protect your energy, not just for others, but for yourself. Not everything requires a response. That truth alone will save you from arguments, anxiety, and exhaustion. Just because something was said doesn't mean it needs to be answered. Just because someone acted out doesn't mean you need to react. Silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. It's awareness. It's a reminder that you don't owe your energy to every invitation to chaos. Every situation doesn't deserve your voice. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let people sit with their own noise without pulling you into it. That's how you keep your peace from getting hijacked by someone else's storm. Every response costs you something. Time, energy, focus, and the truth is, not every moment deserves that payment. When you're always responding, defending yourself, explaining yourself, proving your point, you end up drained. You turn every minor thing into a major event. You become reactive instead of reflective. But when you train yourself to pause, to breathe, to choose stillness over reaction, you shift into control. You're not ignoring reality, you're mastering it. You're learning that maturity isn't about winning the last word. It's about knowing which words are even worth speaking in the first place. Some people speak just to get a rise out of you. They don't want understanding. They want attention. They don't care about clarity. They want control. And the moment you bite, you've handed it over. You've entered a game that doesn't serve you. So instead of falling into the trap of defending every boundary, just enforce it. Instead of explaining every decision, just live it. You don't need to type out that paragraph. You don't need to chase closure in every conversation. Peace gets louder when your responses get quieter. It's not silence from fear. It's silence from confidence. You have to ask yourself in every situation, what's the goal here? Is the goal peace or is it pride? Is the goal clarity or is it control? Sometimes we respond just to feel seen or validated, but other people's validation is temporary. What lasts is knowing you chose peace over provocation. What lasts is knowing you didn't let someone else's energy become your responsibility. That restraint, that discipline is how you stay unbothered. Not because nothing affects you, but because you've learned to choose your battles with wisdom instead of impulse. One of the greatest skills you can build is letting people misunderstand you, letting them create their own narrative while you continue to walk in your truth. You don't have to correct every wrong impression. You don't have to fight every false claim. The more secure you are in who you are, the less noise you feel obligated to answer. Not every jab needs a jab back. Not every shady comment needs a clap back. Let people reveal who they are through their behavior, and you reveal who you are by how little you let it shake you. Choosing not to respond doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your peace to protect it. There's strength in knowing you could respond, but you don't need to. That's control. That's growth. That's what emotional maturity looks like. Because when you stop responding to everything, you start responding to the right things. You shift from reacting to choosing, from defending to discerning. That shift isn't loud. It's quiet. But that quiet is solid. That quiet holds weight. That quiet is where your confidence gets built. Not through what you say, but through what you no longer have to. You don't have to show up to every conflict you're invited to. Some things are better left unanswered. Some conversations aren't worth continuing. Some people want you to play a part in their drama. And when you don't, you break the cycle. You become the calm in their chaos. You become the one who chooses peace, not just once, but as a way of life. That choice doesn't come from being passive. It comes from being powerful enough to know your energy is valuable. It's not for sale every time someone pulls at your pride, at your you. You can observe without absorbing. That's a mindset shift that changes how you handle everything around you. Every room you walk into, every conversation you hear, every energy you encounter, you don't have to carry it. You don't have to make it your problem. You don't have to internalize what doesn't belong to you. Observing is awareness. Observing is attachment. And when you absorb too much of what's not yours, you begin to lose your sense of self in the noise of everyone else. And that's when peace leaks out. Not because life is chaotic, but because you made someone else's chaos your own. We are emotional sponges when we're not intentional. Someone's frustration becomes our stress. Someone's mood shift becomes our anxiety. And suddenly you're carrying burdens that were never yours to hold. Just because you're empathetic doesn't mean you have to be a container for everyone's emotions. It's okay to be present without taking it personally. You can listen without reacting. You can care without overcommitting. That's not being cold. That's being conscious. It's recognizing that the weight you pick up out of habit is the same weight that keeps you from feeling light in your own life. You can witness someone's pain and still protect your peace. You can see someone's bad attitude and not make it about you. You can be aware of dysfunction without getting drawn into it. The key is remembering where you end and where others begin. Emotional boundaries start with that awareness. You don't need to take on someone's energy to be a good person. You don't have to rescue every struggling soul to prove you care. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stand firm in your calm and not mirror their storm. There's a calm confidence that comes with not absorbing everything. When someone tries to project anger onto you, you can recognize it and let it pass. When someone tries to guilt you into something, you can see it for what it is and walk away. This isn't about being numb, it's about being rooted. Rooted in who you are, rooted in what you value, rooted in knowing what's yours to carry and what needs to be left where it is. Observation gives you the power to pause. Absorption throws you into the middle of things that don't deserve your full presence. Life moves fast. People project. Energy shifts constantly. If you don't learn to observe with clarity, you'll absorb with confusion. You'll start reacting to things that have nothing to do with your purpose. You'll spend hours replaying conversations that should have lasted 5 minutes. You'll take responsibility for emotions that were never about you. That's how burnout sneaks in. Not from what's on your plate, but from what you allowed to land there. And sometimes it's not more self-care you need. It's less emotional baggage you picked up from absorbing things that weren't yours. You can be the calm in the chaos, but only if you stop letting the chaos define your state. That means learning to sit with discomfort without letting it settle inside you. That means noticing tension in a room without letting it shift your mood. That means hearing criticism without letting it crush your confidence. This is about emotional detachment, not from people, but from outcomes you can't control. You're allowed to stay solid while everything around you shifts. You're allowed to protect your vibe like it's sacred, because it is. Some people aren't trying to hurt you, they're just hurting. Some situations aren't personal, they're patterns. And when you start to see that, really see it, you stop making everything about you. That's the difference between absorbing and observing. One drowns you, the other empowers you. One makes you reactive, the other makes you reflective. When you observe without absorbing, you move through life with more peace, more focus, and more emotional freedom. You no longer let every room, every face, every word shape your inner world. You keep what aligns and let go of what doesn't. Peace is a daily choice, not a final destination. It's not a one-time fix or a magical moment where everything lines up perfectly. It's not about waiting for all the noise to disappear or for life to get easier. Peace doesn't arrive when the world calms down. It shows up when you decide to calm yourself down every day on purpose. It's something you practice, not something you find. You don't wake up one morning fully unbothered and stay that way forever. You choose to be unbothered in moments where you used to lose control one decision at a time. Peace shows up in how you speak to yourself first. That inner voice, the one that gets loud when you're stressed, the one that criticizes, doubts, or overthinks. That voice has to be managed. You can't control what the world throws at you, but you can control the volume of your self-talk. Every morning you have a choice to speak with pressure or speak with patience. You can rush into the day, reactive, intense, or you can step into it grounded and aware. That's not a personality trait. That's a muscle you build with repetition. That's peace as a discipline. Your peace is tied to your habits. What you consume, how you start your mornings, who you allow into your space. Those aren't small things. They add up. If you're constantly surrounding yourself with noise, distractions, and negativity, it's no wonder you can't feel calm. Peace isn't just about meditating for 5 minutes or taking a deep breath when things get hard. It's about creating an environment that doesn't constantly pull you away from yourself. It's about making small decisions that align with your values, even when no one's watching. It's how you protect your emotional energy like it's sacred, because it is. Peace also means choosing not to engage in every argument, every post, every petty comment, not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. You've got goals, you've got growth to protect, and peace helps you stay aligned with that. When you're not at peace, everything becomes a battle. You misinterpret tone. You respond from insecurity. You seek validation instead of clarity. But when peace is your filter, you move differently. You listen better. You speak with intention. You let go of things that used to hook you instantly. That's the result of choosing calm over chaos. Not once, but every single time. There will always be something trying to knock you off center. Life doesn't stop sending challenges just because you want peace. People will disappoint you. Things will fall through. You will get triggered. But peace doesn't disappear when things go wrong. It just demands a choice. You can take the bait or take a breath. You can spiral or stay steady. You can complain or take control. That's why peace isn't passive. It's active. It requires you to be intentional about how you respond when things don't go your way. It's easy to be calm when things are smooth, but real peace shows up in the pressure. Sometimes peace looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like walking away. Sometimes it looks like saying no, and sometimes it looks like saying yes to yourself, even if others don't get it. The more you practice choosing peace, the less you feel guilty about protecting it. You stop apologizing for needing space. You stop over-explaining your decisions. You stop trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Peace frees you from that cycle. It brings you back to yourself every time the world tries to pull you out of alignment. And that process, that quiet, powerful return, becomes your anchor. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need approval. It's found in those everyday decisions that say, I'm not going to lose myself in this moment. It's built in the pauses, the boundaries, the breath before the reaction. Peace is not something life hands you. It's something you reclaim in real time when the phone rings, when the email comes, when the conflict starts, when the day feels heavy. And you'll know you're choosing peace when you stop needing the outside world to change in order for you to feel okay. You'll know because you'll feel steady even when everything else isn't.